Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to the review crew. I can't believe this is the first time I'm actually doing this. I am subbing in for Jamie Laszlo today. Jamie's had a family emergency, and I would ask everybody watching, please keep Jamie and his family in your thoughts and prayers. It would be greatly appreciated. But he'll be back for the next episode. But in the meantime, you got little old me, man in the review crew. And in the review crew today, because we're not just the road crew, we are the review crew. We got some cool things to talk about. It feels like this is the Hudson Valley Squares, because of course we've got the pillar is right here, right? Mr. Ryan Scow is here. Count Ralphus is here, and Nick Franco is here. So we all can basically almost look at each other outside of our windows. That's how close we all are right now, right? So as we do here on the review crew, it's a chance to talk about some albums that I don't normally review on our Wednesday show. And here we are on Saturday evening talking about some cool stuff. Everybody's brought two albums to the table today. We'll go two trips around for everybody to talk about their release. And we're going to start with the guy with the adorable dog in his lap, Mr. Franco, to talk about his first release.
I
Just
just
another
brought dogs.
dog here. Okay,
There's
what's up?
another one. I got
Oh,
my
you
two
go.
right here, but you can't see them because they're all laying on the floor and they're big ones.
All right. Yeah, so I just want to make sure I have it in front of me here. Okay. So yeah, if you could we'll do that one first.
You want to do this one first? Okay, hold on, Nick.
Yeah, the one I don't actually have a physical copy of yet because
You can
it's
start
not out.
talking about it. I'll get it going for you.
All right. So I with my other review website that I write for, Cryptic Rock, I got a chance to get the promo for the new Accept album on Napalm Records coming out called Humanoid. I believe it's coming out on the 26th of this month. So yes, Accept, those Germans. I got to interview Wolf Hoffman, and that was really cool. The reason I wanted to interview him was because when I got the promo, I was very pleasantly surprised. I mean, I'm not the hugest Accept fan traditionally, but I've grown more into them as the years have gone on. And this album, Humanoid, I gotta say, man, this is going to be one of the strongest releases of 24. There it is. Really cool cover. Really telling cover with like the perfect android and then all these people with like, you can't even really see their faces. So, Wolf Hoffman and the boys have done a great job. This is now, I want to say this is the sixth album cycle with their replacement for Udo Dirkschneider.
Yeah, I think this is Rob's sixth album and also sixth album with Andy Sneap producing. So they've got a going here. Yeah.
Yeah, and Mark Tonello, he sounds like Udo. That's one of his strengths. But this album really, really stacks up. Like some of their past releases that they've done in the past, all quality stuff since they got Mark Tonello. A lot of them for me have like, a couple of like really, really fucking amazing songs. And the rest is good, but it doesn't really stick in the brain. And that's where I feel this album, Humanoid, goes above and beyond. It's got several really strong bangers on it that stays in my brain. They've released a few of the songs already, I think, and I want to say I can't remember which ones they actually released because I've just been listening to the promo. But the meat of the album, the middle of the album, the song "Man Up" is just like this really great ballad. Not a ballad; it's like more of a shout along kind of mid-paced song that really makes you like man up. It's a great message. Instead of feeling sorry for yourself, it's more about digging deep and toughing your way through it. I like that type of attitude. The album has that like ballsy, there's a lot of like shout along parts to the songs where the gang vocal stuff. I think they do that really well. And yeah, and they mix it up with like really good breakdowns, really good solos. There's a ballad on the song, Ravages of Time, which is very well done. I'm not usually a big like classic metal ballad guy. It depends. I'm picky. This one I really like. I think the last song on the album, South Side of Hell, is one of their strongest. You got to check it out. It's super, super vicious. Super vicious song for them, like vicious, not like death metal vicious, but really, really ballsy riff. Yeah, there's really no weak points on it. I mean, it's catchy, it's singable, but it's got a lot of balls. I'm generally not the biggest fan of Sneap Productions. but this doesn't.
I'm just gonna ask that.
It's not, it's I guess it's comparable to what the new Judas Priest sounds like production wise, but the guitar tone is so goddamn good, and Wolf is just, they're just really on top of it. I like the production, so it's definitely an album I know I'm gonna purchase and go back to a lot. What can I say? The Reckoning, Frankenstein, the title track. The lyrics vary, but a lot of it is it's like a breath of fresh air. I think Accept isn't really doing anything different thematically, but nowadays the way when you look around at how shitty everything is, it's nice to see it, to listen to an album that kind of makes you fucking, just put your fist in the air. It is what it is. It's unapologetically metal, and I can't say enough good things about it. I think it's going to definitely be on my best of list.
Yeah, I
And
mean
that's
they've got a formula now, right?
yeah,
And I said Rob Tournier. I do that all the time. It's Mark Tournier.
Mark. Yeah.
They've got every album has a very similar sound and style, and they do it really well. And you either
Yeah.
like it or you don't, right? That's kind of what it is. But
Yeah. And I would contend the only difference with this one is I feel like the songs in this one are just stronger. Like they're
I
just
thought the last one was really lacking for me.
mm,
Like, I mean, I actually said what because they put out a new album right around the same time that Udo did. Well,
mhm.
sorry, UDO. And I thought their album was better than the Accept album. And it wasn't
Yeah,
even close to me. And I felt like the last Accept album, just nothing was really memorable on it. Didn't really stick with me like a month
same.
after it came out. So I heard the one song off this new one. I thought it was pretty good. Again, sounds like typical Accept. And the production,
Yeah.
everything kind of just sounded like what we would expect from them. So I'm looking forward to hearing the whole thing. What would you rate it out of 5 stars?
I would give it a solid 4.
Solid 4. That's good.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Good.
it's a high quality album, and I think the metal scene needs more of this type of shit. It's a freewheeling album. The solos are great. So
Yeah, well, Wolf is tremendous.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
tremendous. All right,
So
cool. Except
yeah.
Humanoid, 4 out of 5 stars. So check that out.
Yeah.
Coming out in 2 weeks, right, about 2 weeks.
Yep. And then next,
Awesome.
yeah, I'm going back into more of my somewhat obscurity, the new Borknagar album,
Hold on, we'll
Fall.
circle. We'll circle back to you. We'll circle back.
Oh, pump
Oh,
the brakes there, buddy.
I
Easy.
thought we were doing all of them.
We'll do 2 trips around. 2 trips
In other
around.
news,
He's so excited to talk about Borknagar. So,
I thought we were just going through the whole thing. Forget it.
all right, we'll move over to Ralph. Ralph, what do you got?
All right, I got the 6th album from Midnight, Hellish Expectations, from the one-man band from Cleveland, Midnight. The cool album cover. It's got the 2 demon chicks with the ringing a hell's bell there with the nun as like the ringer. And I noticed that as I was looking at this, like how it's like a theme with a lot of their albums, like the 2 girls scissoring on this cover, and there's demon chicks on all of their covers. But yeah,
Like arts
this
and crafts, scissoring.
Midnight makes music to start fights too. Athanar says he wrote this album in one weekend. I love it because it's a blend of punk metal mixed with lust, filth, and satanic sleaze. The inner juvenile delinquent in me can't get enough of this band. Usually I don't like stuff that remind me so much of something else, but the void that's been they fill a void that's been missing from Motorhead being done and the original Venom not putting out albums. But for the I got little excerpts of each song. The first one, Expect Total Hell, Expect No Quarter, Expect No Mercy, Expect Total Hell. Then second song, Gash, Scrape, Puncture the Sore, Blood Flow Galore, Spoon Out the Larva, Kill Ya and Destroy Ya. Then number 3, Masked and Deadly, Inject the Filth, Pulse Will Race, It's Your Choice, the Axe or Mace. Then Slave to the Blade, Dying to Get Sin, Coughing, Come on Chin. Dungeon Lust is the next one, Feeding off Fragments of Leather, Burnt Vomit Released in Pleasure. Nuclear Savior, We Must All Agree to Destroy and Only Make Dead, Nothing 5, not even a shred. Deliver us to devil, to send us into the grip of metal, deliver us to the devil. Then merciless slaughter, smash with scorn, juggernaut won't be denied. Quest for fire, and burning high. Then doom, death, and desire, degrading deeds done with ease, devotion to destruction, Armageddon tease. FOAL is the final song, and it stands for fuck off and live. And the great line is, why would I want you to die so you could be free? Don't want to see you in hell, not next to me. Yeah,
Righty then.
This is
That's great. Uh-oh.
Did we lose Ralph?
Ralph is frozen.
I'm frozen. I'm having problems with my internet. I thought I was frozen.
There you
Oh,
go.
there you go. Got him back.
Where's the glasses? They're gone.
Just like that, they just disappear.
That's like magic.
Ralph, so what would you rate that album?
I give it a 5. I love everything they've done. It's pretty much the same album. They're one of those bands that put out the same thing over and over again, but you don't want them to change it. It always seems fresh because it's just fun. It's real juvenile lyrics. I love it. It's great. It's something I would have loved as a kid. If this band was around back then, they would have been one of my favorites. But they're one of my favorites today. I love them.
Okay. That's all that matters. Awesome. What label is that release on?
That's Metal Blade.
Metal Blade. I thought so. Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right, Mr. Scow, we'll move over to you.
All right. So speaking, actually, I can segue now. Speaking of Midnight, the first time I saw Midnight and the first time I saw members of this band was at a show. It was the only time I ever went there. It was like a fucking loading dock in Brooklyn called 285 Kent. I don't think it was a real venue, but it was Midnight headlining, and the second band was from Canada. This band Koshmar from Montreal that I'm friends with, and the show is. I've seen Midnight probably a dozen times. This was like by far it was the wildest fucking show I've ever seen. Midnight, one of the wildest shows I've ever seen. At the end of the Midnight's gig, the bass player, because on studio it's one guy, but live they have a full band. The bass player unplugs the bass cab and just fucking chucks it in the crowd. I'm like, I think he just killed somebody. I don't think anybody died, but it was fucking mayhem. But anyways, going up to Montreal. So this is in advance. The album actually comes out tomorrow, but I don't have a physical copy in hand yet. But I have been listening to it in advance. I'm going to try. I don't speak French. I'm going to try to pronounce this properly. I'm good friends with the band, and the singer Anik. She told me how to say it. I'm going to butcher this. I already know it. So I printed this out. I don't have a color printer, so I get black and white. The band is called Tonar, and the album is Lanit Sauvage. And it's so if you know the band Koshmar from Montreal, they're very like old school doom, like kind of like Pagan Altar, a lot of Black Sabbath, Witchfinder General, like that kind of vibe. I saw them a couple weeks ago in Texas at Hell's Heroes, and it was their final set. Right, I guess, or they're going on hiatus, if not officially breaking up. But now they have a new band, Tonar, and this band it's similar in some ways to Koshmar. It's like old school, kind of like classic English doom heavy metal. But in this case, it's much closer to AC/DC, which Francois, Anik's husband, on guitars. Anik's the vocalist, and her husband Francois is the guitarist. I apologize, I don't know the other guys, people in the band yet. When I get the album in front of me and I get a chance to read through it, his favorite band's old AC/DC. And as soon as I heard this album, the first couple seconds of the first song, it was like, man, there's that Phil Rudd drum beat, and it just had that AC/DC sound, not a ripoff, but far from a ripoff, but it just had that feel to it. And it's also a good deal of Blue Oyster Cult. So it has this warm, inviting kind of 70s rock. I wouldn't really call it a metal album, maybe like old, like early metal, but primarily an old rock album. And it's great. So unfortunately, I don't have the lyrics in front of me yet, which, again, I'll have when I have the album in front of me. But I do know the album tells a story of a party in the woods that evolves over the course of a night, and all kinds of weird shit happens over as the party goes on. Substances are consumed, alcohol is consumed, things happen, maybe some visitations. I'm actually looking forward to kind of diving in, because when Anik explained the concept to me, I'm like, not only is that kind of a cool idea, usually concept albums are like real high and mighty and like, speak to like things on like this cosmic or like worldwide scale. very like big egos and stuff. Like this seemed very grounded. Like we're gonna talk about a party that happens throughout the course of the night, and it just this weird and wild shit that happens to all the party goers as the evening progresses. So I think that's kind of cool. Yeah, if you like old Oyster Cult, like the early like Secret Treaties, Tyrion Mutation, Agents of Fortune. If you also obviously old ACDC, especially the Bon Scott era, I highly recommend this. It's on Cruz del Sur Records from Italy.
Great label.
Great label. Good, yeah, a lot of good classic heavy metal. It comes out tomorrow, but you can pre-order it and stuff. I've been listening to it for about a week and a half now. This cover is, pardon my shitty printer here. It's like a bright like orange, it's like this dark kind of bright orange. It's a very cool cover. There's the woods. You can kind of see the wolves at the bottom there howling, and you can't make it out in my printer, but there's a lightning bolt. It's really cool. It's cool artwork. The album means thunder, or the name of the band means thunder in French, I believe.
Ryan, ready? Ready? Hold on.
Okay.
Tonar. Tonar.
Did that come over? Tonar.
It sounded like someone was yelling at me.
Tonar.
Tonar. Tonar.
I looked
Yeah,
it
I
up.
have a Annick sent me a message with like the name of the album and the name of the band, and I listened to it like 20 times. Like I'm gonna fucking butcher this, but yeah, I can recommend, because I know there's a lot of bands now to play like retro stuff, like retro rock, 70s rock, and some of them are really good, and some of them to me are just kind of like, well, you got the broad strokes, but like, where's the fucking heart? Where's the soul of the music? Some of it kind of goes in, bounces around, and goes out. This band, I've been listening to it nonstop, and it's almost like I want to put a disclaimer. When you're good friends with the band, you kind of want to like, I'm not just prepping, or giving it good accolades because I'm friends with them. This is a great album. This is a really good album. If you like old AC/DC, if you like Blue Oyster Cult, if you like their previous band Koshmar, I can easily recommend this. All the lyrics are in French, just like Koshmar, but that shouldn't ever stop anybody from listening to anything. First off, if you really care, you can always go on Google Translate and kind of like figure out what they're singing about, which is what I'll do. And it doesn't impact the music, and the emotion's there. She's a great singer. The guitar tone is awesome. I can't recommend it enough. I would give it an easy 5 out of 5. I love the most recent Koshmar album. I was sad to see them go, or at least on hiatus. But this new project, awesome. So I hope I get to see them live at some point in the future. They do play. They have played a couple shows. I just haven't made it out to one yet. I don't think they've played anything outside of Canada yet. So.
And Ryanik is she's just an absolute carrier of the flag for real underground metal and stuff, 100%. Right? She's done so much. You've told me about her.
Oh yeah, she used to, years ago, she put on the best festival I've ever been to in my life, Wings of Metal. Unfortunately, she had a record label. She recently closed it, Temple of Mystery. Just just logistics and money and all, just it's personal business. But yeah, unfortunately, the label no longer is here, but put out great stuff. Obviously has great bands, and yeah, it was. I was hanging out with them in Houston a couple weeks ago with their band. They flew down, their band played, and it was awesome. And it was great to see. I knew it was going to be their last show, and it was just great that I was able to be there. Hopefully, not last forever, but it lasts for now. So we'll see what the future holds. But this new, we're here to speak about new stuff, and I can give this new album 5 out of 5. If you like, a lot of good classic band or newer bands that have that classic sound, I can't recommend this highly enough. So check it out. Absolutely 100% behind this.
And for everybody watching, we'll make sure I'll get everybody's albums, and we'll put the list down in the comments below in case you want to copy and paste and go shopping somewhere and pick these up. But Cruz del Sur is a great label, and this stuff is very easy to get, so you should have no problems finding that once it's released tomorrow.
Yeah, they have pretty good stateside distro.
Yeah.
I buy in this case, I know you can go on Bandcamp and buy it, and it'll ship right from the band. So in this case, it would be coming from Canada. Not a big deal. Shipping's not bad. Easy to get, easy to listen to. Highly recommend it.
Cool. All right. So speaking of music sung in a different language, that's my first pick here for today. So this is a band. They've been around since the 70s, but they only started actually recording albums and music in the 90s. And this is their 8th studio album. They're from Oslo, Norway. The band is Lucifer Was, and this is the album. And I'm going to try and pronounce this here. Ein fix ferdig mann. Whatever the hell that means. And it's a weird ass album cover. Look at that. and this is on Apollon Records, I believe. Yeah, Apollon Records, which is a label out of Norway that releases all sorts of hard rock and psych and prog stuff from Scandinavia. Great label. They crank out all sorts of stuff. Like I said, this is the band's 8th studio album, and it's the first one in a while. They're a really interesting band because especially if you listen to their early stuff, their early album sounds like a weird head-on collision. So stay with me here, everybody. Lonesome Crow era Scorpions, very early Jethro Tull, early Black Sabbath, Uriah Heep, and Deep Purple. So big, heavy, crunchy guitar riffs, kind of bluesy, hard rock guitar riffs, flute, Hammond organ, mellotron, and just that whole kind of like early 70s heavy rock, bluesy rock, proggy, doomy vibe, right? That's their music. Mellotron and all sorts of keyboards and just really cool stuff. They've kind of revamped the whole lineup for this particular album. So I think it's only one founding member left, and you got a whole bunch of new people. And then here they've got like choirs and all sorts of other guest musicians and whatnot, like an orchestra, string section, all that kind of stuff. The album to me overall is maybe a little less heavy than some of their earlier stuff, but there still are some tracks here that rock pretty well. The one thing I'm really missing on this album, it's interesting because on the booklet, they mentioned that there are 2 people playing flute, but you almost don't hear any flute on the album, whereas all their earlier albums are really cool because they have all the big heaviness with the flute. So it's kind of like this like Sabbath Tull kind of collision, right? They list it on here, but you don't really hear much flute in the mix at all. But there's some cool riffs. Some of the stuff reminds me of like Therion in spots, which I think will interest Ryan. Because of this whole kind of like orchestral, like big epic sound. Some of the tracks are a little more on the folky side, and then you got like tracks like, again, I don't know how to pronounce this, but Igvilha det Igvilha, whatever the hell that means. That's a really heavy, doomy one. Like that one quite a bit. Ein Fix Ferdig Mann is really cool. There's El Gate or Gate, however you say it, I Gate, I don't know, however you pronounce it. It's got some really cool, haunting mellotron on it. It's a very cool album. I'm still kind of digesting it because I'm like very in tune with a lot of their earlier records and how kind of heavy they are. This, I think, is much more of a prog album, but it's got those rockin' moments on a few of the tracks. I'm gonna get it. It's really well done. Vocals are good. There's male and female vocals. The female vocals are really nicely done. Track number 5, which is called Nar Nata Kim Og Dek Mek. Again, who knows what the hell that means. But there's female vocals on that. Really cool, nice mellotron. And there's some epic pieces. It's really well done. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 star. Really nicely done. If you want to hear some cool Norwegian music that's kind of heavy, kind of proggy, a little bit orchestral and symphonic, and everything sung in Norwegian, go check it out. Lucifer Was, again, Ein Fix Ferdig Mann on Apollon Records. Wacky album cover too. So go check it out. With that, back to Nick to go. We're going to stay in Norway here. So Nick's gonna
surprise. Nobody has any idea what I'm about to show.
Carry on. I'm just going to step out for a second to let my dogs actually tell us about me up. So I'll be right back.
As I jump the gun, Borknagar from Bergen, Norway, the classic old school black metal that turned very swiftly into a sort of pagan folk prog beast. And their latest album, Fall, came out on February 23rd on Sentry Media, label that had them in the very beginning. Those of you who are unfamiliar, you should get familiar, because I know on this channel it's often myself or Ryan, actually the 3 of us are the ones that are always into the most extreme stuff, and everybody thinks we're out of our fucking minds. But Borknagar has
I am out of
appeal.
my fucking mind.
Well, I certainly am out of my mind. Borknagar has a proggy feel to them that, what does not abandon the trappings of traditional metal one bit. So I think they have a little something for everybody that, and their vocalist is ICS Vortex, back where he belongs. He's been there for a while now. They've been running with just himself and Lars Nedlund, the keyboard player, on vocals, and there's a lot of vocal trade-off within the songs, and I think that adds to the appeal, expands the dimensions of the music. If you like keyboards but you don't want to be overwhelmed by them, this is for you. My favorite track on the album is easily the song called Moon. I'm not going to make a joke about the eclipse that just passed and say, "Look, Moon," or maybe I am. I don't know. But yeah, the song Moon is to me got the most of the best dynamics of this band, without a doubt, are in there. There's a little bit more heavy moments on this one than on their prior album, True North. I think this is stronger than True North. In my opinion, the 2016 album Winter Thrice was maybe the best thing they've ever done. So I'm not somebody who Borknagar often gets, all people love, like, the first album, which was much more black metal, or they like, the one or two that they heard when they were younger, like Archaic Horse, or what's the Olden Domain is generally the one. Their second album is generally considered, I know it's Ryan's favorite. That's when they were really going from like that sort of avant-garde black metal into more proggy and folk, ethnic Nordic type stuff. But I think Borknagar in 2024 is essentially an extreme prog metal band, and anybody that follows this channel that loves the prog stuff will find something on this. The attention to detail on the songs is incredible. You're going to get something new every time you listen to it. They have Jostein Thomassen on guitar this time around. People into underground Nordic music may remember him from Source of Tide, which was a really forward-thinking avant-garde band in the late 90s. I spoke to Øystein Brun, who is the band leader and other guitarist on this band. He's there since the beginning, and he was saying that most of the leads on this album are Jostein's, and they are some tasty leads. They are just some really, really rock and wonderful guitar solos. So taken together, all told, as an album, it is super, super cohesive, and I easily give it a 5. It's going to be one of the top albums of the year for me. They've grown and matured so much as a band, but they do their own thing. And again, I think people into extreme music can find something, but people into like, Rush, like Pete's awesome fucking sweatshirt. I think like there's enough of a soul of that type of music and everything in this to please anybody. So I love it.
Yeah, I would say for folks watching who, maybe are afraid of extreme metal music, but like, Rush and Dream Theater and all that kind of stuff. And Borknagar and Enslaved, any of their recent albums, it's not much different, other than the fact you got some of those harsh vocals, in the music. It's just as much clean melodic vocals as it is that. And they do both so well. And the arrangements are gorgeous. And yeah, it's a really, really great album.
Yeah,
I'd say.
Uh-oh.
He'd say.
What would you say, Ryan?
That's a good recommendation. Like if you like Opeth when they were in that like the Blackwater Park era and stuff.
Yeah.
I could easily say you definitely should check out Borknagar if you're not familiar. It's a nice.
That's a great call, Ryan, because
like,
when I
be
first,
like A, you definitely gotta like B.
Yeah, I remember I bought Borknagar Quintessence and Blackwater Park at the exact same time. And that's what really turned me on to like all this Scandinavian extreme, like progressive extreme metal. I was hooked. That those two albums right there is what got me.
And it's the breathtaking atmosphere. In other words, like their music has this epic quality to it. They're very tied into the nature and seasons and mythology of Norway. Yeah. And I think but the lyrics it's not as overt as some bands that make that all their image. So yeah, it's like that Opeth, like that, but with more of like an epic, metal kind of homage going on.
Yeah. And man, ICS Vortex is like the secret weapon. That
yes,
any band he's in, he's like,
yep. Phenomenal bass player too. I mean, I've seen Borknagar in small venues right up front, and He's such a phenomenal finger picking bass player. Old school values. These guys are what, and they're like our age. They're a little older than me.
Yeah, I
But
think they're our age, or yeah,
they're around your age. Yeah, they're
I think they're younger than
they,
me, but they're between the two of us here, I think. For the
yeah, like Lars Nedlund, the keyboard player, who's also in another mind blowing band called Solifald, which is another whacked out, freaking great mind bending band. He's what was I going to say? He's another singer that's just got such a great voice. Like there's two clean vocal singers in this. You will hear some death metal vocals from Vortex. He's actually experimenting with his voice a little bit on here, so
because he's never done that before, right?
He's done death metal vocals, but not he's done that a couple times on here, but not as much because they usually have that guy Winter Sorg.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I don't know what happened. He's not involved with them, but yeah. So Vortex is just letting it all out, which is cool.
Let it all.
Yeah.
Cool.
All
right, Ralph. What's your next selection?
This album came out last year, but I know it hasn't been reviewed on the channel, so it's not brand new. But it's new to me because I only picked it up like 2 months ago. But so this is the second album by the band Static Abyss. The name of the album is Aborted from Reality. It's a 2-man band. My last band was a 1-man band. This is a 2-man band. It's Chris Reifert and Greg Wilkinson from the legendary death metal band Autopsy. If you should go back and watch on the channel, we did a great interview with everybody that's on this panel right now. We did a great interview with Chris Reifert. We talked about his side projects. He's got a lot of them. But this album is just amazing. I was listening to it today, and like if you walked into a room and you didn't know, you would think this was the new Autopsy album. It's kind of weird that they do a side project that's so similar to Autopsy, but it's great. Love Autopsy. If you're an Autopsy freak like me, you're gonna love this album. Cover, pretty cool album cover, a little blurry. And this is the first album came out in 2022, and this one came out in 2020. The weird thing about it is Autopsy also did an album in 2022 and 2023. So it's like going back to the 70s when bands would do 2 albums a year. These guys put out 4 albums in 2 years,
You have to wonder, Ralph, if they're booking studio time right around the same time and they just have the one band come in, record the album, and then Chris stays and everybody else comes in for the next one. Because why pay for separate sessions, right? Let's just pay for a week and we'll knock both albums out at one time. You have to wonder, right?
It makes sense. Yeah, it definitely makes sense to do that. Save a lot of money.
Yeah.
And how did they decide which is an Autopsy song and which is a Static Abyss?
Well, that's
exactly. Chris is playing drums and singing. It's like the guitar is the only thing that's different, really. But I mean, you really couldn't tell the difference. When I hear it, it sounds like another fresh Autopsy album. So if you love that kind of stuff, you love this band. Don't skip out on them. They're not very well known, I guess, being on Peaceville, and Autopsy overshadows them. But I think people would love this if they get it.
And what would you rate that?
I give it a 5. Songs like Wormskin, Cathedral of Vomit, and Crosses and Coffins, you can't lose.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah, Chris Reifert, man. He's the dude. He's the man. All right, Ryan, back to you. I'm going to run and fetch my dogs. I'll be right back. Go ahead. Well, I want to hear what you have. What you
I just saw Autopsy in Texas like 2 weeks ago, and I met Chris. I went up and like, man, we just interviewed you, and yeah, he was fucking cool as shit to talk to, and yeah, that's all I just wanted to throw in there. He was a cool guy, great set, fucking intense sound. There was a little weather bullshit with a lightning storm, so the set got cut, like a song or two short, not too big. But they did the whole Severed Survival album, the first album, and that was that drilled a hole in my brain. Put some fucking battery acid in there. It was good stuff. But so I'm actually going to segue again because you're talking about a band that's kind of like similar to the previous band. So one of my favorite bands of all time, hands down, a top 10 band for me, was Manila Road. And unfortunately, a couple years ago, the band leader and basically the backbone and the heart of the band, Mark Shelton, passed away. They played a show in Germany, and he was just not doing good. I think maybe the show was too hot. I don't know the details, and I don't really want to get into that. But basically, he passed away soon after the show. And that was the end of the band because he had other guys in the band, but it was kind of like, Mustaine and Megadeth. Some people even been in the band a long time, but, you take the main guy out that's been there since the beginning, the band's no more. And of course, like, Motorhead and Lemmy too. So sure enough, Manila Road was no more. And that sucked. It sucked. I was able to see them many times, but, they're one of your favorite bands. So a couple of years go by, and Manila Road had a thing. They played a festival, a great metal festival in Germany called Keep It True, and so they did a respect for Mark Shelton. They did this homage to him, this tribute to him. They got the remaining guys from Manila Road. They got a lot of like guest guys up there, and they basically played this big long set of Manila Road songs to tribute to Mark. And it's all on YouTube. It's fucking great. I watched the whole thing live as it was happening. A couple tears came down. So the band goes forward, and the other guy's like, "Man, we really like playing together. It's a shame. It sucks that Mark passed away, but we just like playing together. We have good chemistry." So they formed a new band, and the album just came out a couple weeks ago. It's the three remaining guys: Phil on bass, Nudie on drums, and Brian Patrick on vocals. And they got a new guitarist called Callie Goldsmith. I'm not familiar with any of his other bands, so I can't speak to that. And the band is called Sentry. Man, the reflection here sucks. I'm in a different spot than my usual spot. The album's called Sentry 2, and it has artwork by a great Italian guy, Paolo Giardi, who does a lot of metal bands now, mostly extreme metal, Black and Death. But in this case, he did some cool art for this guy. It's a raven on a skull, if you can't make it out there. So the obvious comparison here is Manila Road. These guys came from Manila Road. That's what they played together. The death of Manila Road was the impetus for the start of the new band. Sound a lot like Manila Road. Not entirely, though. So Manila Road has these great 80s albums, and then they broke up for a couple of years, and they came back in the 2000s. And their 2000s albums, I mean, honestly, they're not that big and famous compared to like the reunion albums of a lot of bands. And I get it because the production's very DIY. They never were a band to go into a studio. They're about as far away from like the Andy Steve sound as you could possibly fucking get. It almost sounds like demo level at times. I find it endearing. I like it, but it's almost like, the complaints people have about the new Iron Maiden stuff. Like, man, I wish Maiden would get Andy Steve and stop fucking around with Nick. Who's the guy they always use now?
Kevin Shirley.
Yeah, Kevin Shirley. It's like, I wish they stop fucking around Kevin Shirley and get it, which I disagree with. But it's basically that mentality gone even further with the new Manila Road stuff. Or the songs were kind of like long and wonky. It just didn't lend itself to like being like tons of people like, I like this, but I loved it. I did like the newer stuff. And this album has that quality, but dialed down a little bit. So this album, it is like modern Manila Road in a sense, but the songs are a little more compact. They don't tend to go into like the 7, the 8, the 9-minute mark. The production's a little tighter than more recent Manila Road. So it has that newer Manila Road sentiment to it, but it's like they workshopped the stuff a little bit more and kind of put everything kind of like fell into place better. The new guitarist, like I said, I don't know much about his previous work. He's great, definitely fits right in. The material has that same sentiment of Manila Road. So if you like classic epic heavy metal, if you like what Manila Road always sounded like, if you like bands like Omen, Cirith Ungol, any of that kind of sound, Warlord, when you dig in like early Man of War, like that kind of sound, I think it's a natural fit. In this case, Brian Patrick's vocals, he's not a professional, like he's not a Rob Halford or like a Bruce Dickinson, but I like that, because they were never that kind of band. Mark Shelton himself, who was the vocalist for many of their albums, he had this very like nasally sound, which, maybe turned some people off. I loved it. It's charming and it fit the music. So this album, is an easy recommendation. If you like Manila Road and you're sad to see him gone, I know they're kind of a cult band, but the other guys, they have a new band out. They're back. I saw that when they've only played a few shows so far, and you kind of expect, they're going to mix in a lot of Manila Road stuff in addition to the new stuff. It doesn't look like they do that. It looks like they're really just sticking to the Sentry stuff, which is cool. That's their decision. But even with that said, I do hope I get a chance to see them one day. If they ever, two of the guys live in the States, I believe. But the drummer, I believe, is still in Germany. So, logistics and all that. And I'm not even sure where the guitarist lives. But yeah, Sentry, it is on High Roller Records, which is another really good label that does like a lot of classic new releases, not reissues, but like just a lot of like classic sounding heavy metal. Pretty good distro in the States. So if you're in the States and you want to get a copy, it's not that hard to track down. Yeah, I would give this a good 4 out of 5, 4.5 out of 5. Just because it doesn't reach the levels of like what my favorite Manila Road stuff, like Crystal Logic and Open the Gates, like that stuff to me is perfect. This is a very good album, and I actually say it's probably better than some of the more later Manila Road albums, but it's definitely cut from that cloth. So it's an easy recommendation if you like that stuff. But even if you like classic heavy metal, with it's like it doesn't have that super polished Andy Sneap sound. Sorry, if you like that sound that's like a little rougher. Like, it sounds like I like it because it sounds like the band's playing in the room in front of you. That's what I look for. That's why I like the new Iron Maiden stuff. It sounds like the band's just playing on a stage in front of you. It's very warm and natural, and that's kind of what I look for in my music, just that connection to it. So this definitely has it. Great album, cool artwork, good songs. I mean, you probably noticed I don't really go into the individual songs that much because stuff like this, I'm just going to put the album on and play the whole thing all the way through. So there are advanced songs available. You can hear the whole thing on YouTube, I'm sure, or Bandcamp. But to me, this is the kind of thing where I'm just going to put it on, play the whole thing through, and enjoy the shit out of it. So, yeah, good album, too. Very, very good album. Very highly recommend. If you're like Manila Road, I would say 5 out of 5. Otherwise, definitely like a 4.5 out of 5. But either way, if you like good classic heavy metal, I can easily recommend it.
Yeah, it's a good album. I think that they do a good job of capturing the spirit of Manila Road, but it's not like a copycat type of thing. They're not trying to sound exactly like the band, which, you don't have Mark anymore, so it's never going to sound like that. But it's really, really solid. And as far as like, them, like what they'll be playing live, I would assume that maybe once they get another album under their belt, they'll probably bring in at least a handful of Manila Road classics, but I think they really want to kind of make it on their own.
Yes.
Which is understandable. That's
totally.
I totally get that.
Because you're always going to have that connection just because of where they came from and like the circumstances. But yeah, I can totally accept that. But I mean, even if they played no Manila Road songs, this album is good enough where I would be
on its own.
Yeah, I'd be fine seeing it. And it is probably, I would say it's better than some of the later Manila Road albums, just because it's a little more tighter and the songwriting is a little more focused. But other than that, yeah, if you like Manila Road in any capacity or any of that realm of metal bands, I could easily recommend this with no reservations.
Yeah, and you don't have to be a Manila Road fan to like it. It's just a good metal album.
It is. It's definitely solid.
And Ryan was 100% correct. High Roller Records is home to a lot of good bands who play like kind of classic sounding heavy music. So don't sleep on High Roller Records. I mean, there's so many great labels like them that are out there now that have so many great young bands that are just waiting to be discovered by folks like everybody watching the show. So go check them out. Go on their website and just take a gander at all of the cool new releases that are coming out. I get promos for high roller stuff all the time, and it's just you can't even keep up with them. There's just so many good bands. So that's a good choice. All right, so here's something that's coming out tomorrow. Actually, no, when people are watching this, it came out yesterday. Get your date straight, Pete. Because it's Saturday night here when everybody's watching this, but this came out yesterday, Friday. And this is on the Heavy Psych Sounds label, which is out of Italy. Great label, another great label that has lots of cool underground, heavy psychedelic music. The band is from Glasgow, Scotland. They're called the Cosmic Dead. This is their 9th album. The album is called Infinite Peaks. Just 2 long tracks of heavy, throbbing space rock. It's really good, really dark, crushing, big, massive riffs, great guitar solos, lots of cool effects and things like that. If you like Hawkwind, but stripped of all the weirdness and just heavy, heavy space rock, you've come to the right place. Track number 1 is called Navigator Number 9. Track number 2 is called Space Mountain. That's it. Both tunes, long as all hell. The guys in the band, Omar Aborted, Callum Calderwood, Tommy Duffin, and Luigi Pasquini. I don't know what each of them play. Couldn't tell you. All I know is it's really, really good. This absolutely blew me away. This label is so good. They've got so many cool bands on there. They got, they got heavy, the stoner doom bands. They've got just the psych bands. They got prog stuff. This is kind of like a little bit of everything, but it's just total heavy crushing space rock. Ryan, I think you will absolutely fall in love
You
with
bet your ass I'm going to check this out. If you're talking my language.
Yeah, this comes out tomorrow, and the album cover is amazing. The only thing that kind of sucks is that there's like no information in this at all about anything other than the guys' names and the and the track names. But whatever, it's the music that counts. This is something you just put in, just crank it, and it just takes you to fucking Neptune. That's what it's all about. Really, really good stuff. So yeah, Cosmic Dead, Infinite Peaks. Available as of yesterday. So we'll try and drop some links to where you can get some of this stuff down in the comments below. But Heavy Psych Sounds Records is where you can get this. 4.5 out of 5 star. Easy.
Let's go to fucking Neptune. Let's do it.
Yeah, there you go. And I'm just going to mention one more because it's been sitting in my stack to review forever, and I don't know when I'm going to get to it. So, and this is totally different than anything else we've talked about tonight. This is a jazz album by a very cool sax player named Muriel Grossman, and the album is called Devotion. It's a double album, 2-disc set. She's got a red hot band, all instrumental stuff. She plays tenor, alto, and soprano sax, flute, percussion, and all sorts of other things. A guy named Radomir Milkovich on guitars, who's amazing. Ariel Roquera on Hammond B3 organ, and Uros Stamenkovic on drums. Just awesome long tunes, lots of jamming. If you like classic John Abercrombie, just great guitar, sax, and Hammond organ trading off and feeding off each other. Excellent stuff. Only 7 tracks across 2 discs. A lot of music, loads of jamming. Great stuff. This is highly recommended. 5 out of 5 star. If you're into jazz stuff and just ripping jazz, where people just, the musicians just absolutely soloing with reckless abandon and some cool tunes as well. I highly recommend that. So
I'm gonna check that out too. That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, she's amazing. She's a great sax player. Just, her sax and her flute just screaming up a storm. The guitar player is so good. He's really good. Really intense stuff. I love jazz like that just kind of goes out into the stratosphere. Really cool stuff. So yeah, that's what we got. So we will drop the names of all of these albums down in the comments below so you guys can kind of copy and paste and go out and give this stuff a listen. Obviously, we've got a lot of high ratings on all this stuff, right? I don't think there was anything rated under a 4 in the show today. So that means we all love this stuff quite a bit. We had a bunch of 5-star ratings. So I think it's safe to say we highly recommend this stuff. So yeah, so tune in next time to another episode of the Review Crew. And Jamie Laszlo will be back with a new crew next week, or in 2 weeks, whenever that is. And thanks for letting me sit in for Jamie here today, guys. Greatly appreciate it. Very cool to see these fine gentlemen once again. I'll be seeing them in just a couple days because we might as well talk about what we're doing in a couple days. So make sure you do not miss this upcoming episode of the Hudson Valley Squares, because we're going to talk some serious thrash. We're going to take a look at 4 classic bands from the California thrash scene: Slayer, Metallica, Megadeth, and Testament. And we're going to take a look at 4 legendary bands from the German scene: Creator, Destruction, Sodom, and Tankard. And we're going to talk about the 80s albums and the more modern albums. Who did it better from then and now and in between? So it's all about German and California thrash coming up on Monday night. Do not miss it. We're going to be talking about lots of albums and what we like about them, what we don't like about them, and, who rules the roost, right? The thrash roost. That's all coming up on Monday night on the Hudson Valley Squares. Visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube all together all the damn time. Subscribe if you haven't already. And click on that notification bell to get alert of all of our content as it posts. And please do hit the like button before you leave. And we'll see you tomorrow. Count Ralphus is joining me tomorrow to rank the albums. Speaking of destruction, we're going to rank the whole fucking catalog tomorrow. 15 albums. That's coming up tomorrow. And in not too distant future, Mr. Scow and I will be ranking the Sodom albums. Yeah, it's been German thrash here on the channel of late, and we're going to continue on with that. That's right. Look at that. Ralph will be bringing all his props, so be on the lookout for all that. He's going to have half his garage in the room with him there. So, It's going to be fun. So stay tuned for all that and more. Thanks for watching, everybody. For Count Ralphus, Nick Franco, and Ryan Scow, I am Pete Pardo. See you next time here on the Review Crew. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Later.